They tell you it's a scam, a bubble, a Ponzi scheme, digital rat poison. They'll roll out Nobel laureates and legendary investors to warn you, to scare you, and to tell you that it's all going to zero. They paint this picture of a dangerous, shadowy world, a place for criminals and gamblers, a place you, a sensible person, should avoid at all costs. They use their platforms, their authority, and their credibility to build a wall of fear around a single idea. And you have to ask yourself one simple question: why? Why are they so afraid? Why spend so much energy trying to discredit a piece of software? Why the coordinated campaign of fear, uncertainty, and doubt against what they claim is an irrelevant fringe technology? It's because they're not telling you the whole story. They obsess over the price, the volatility, the headline grabbing noise, but they never, ever talk about the system they're desperate to protect. They never talk about the fundamental flaws in their own money. And they certainly never explain why Bitcoin is a direct challenge to the power structure they control. This isn't a story about getting rich quick. This is a story about the very nature of money itself. It's a story about a hidden game you've been forced to play your entire life, a game where the rules are designed for you to lose. And it's the story of the first real peaceful escape from that game. They tell you Bitcoin is a scam, a bubble, a risky bet. But what if the riskiest bet you can make is holding on to their money? For decades, they've been playing a game where the rules are designed to make your savings lose value. This video explains the one rule they don't want you to know and how Bitcoin is the financial revolution they can't control. Let's start with a feeling we all know. You work hard, you sacrifice your time, your energy, your life to earn money. You trade something real and finite, your time on this earth, for a number in a bank account. You try to be responsible. You save a portion of that money for the future, for your kids' education, a down payment on a house, your retirement, an emergency. You do everything you're supposed to do. And yet, every single year, you feel like you're falling behind. The price of groceries goes up, the cost of gas goes up, the price of a home becomes more and more unattainable. That number in your bank account stays the same, but it buys you less. It feels like you're being robbed in slow motion. This isn't just a feeling, it's a mathematical certainty. The money you are saving is designed to fail. Imagine your life savings aren't held in dollars or euros. Imagine they're held in the form of a giant ice cube. Every single day, you see a small puddle of water forming at its base. A little bit of your savings melted away, gone forever. You didn't spend it. Nobody visibly stole it from you, but you have less than you did yesterday. This is exactly what is happening to your money. They call this inflation, a sterile academic term designed to numb you to its reality. But let's call it what it is: a hidden tax. It is the silent, systematic theft of your life's energy. They tell you a little bit of inflation, say 2% per year, is a good thing. It's healthy for the economy, they say. It encourages spending. But what they don't tell you is that their healthy 2% inflation target means the purchasing power of your savings will be cut in half in about 35 years. You work your entire adult life saving diligently, only to find that half of its value has been vaporized by design. Does that sound healthy to you? Or does it sound like a rigged game? This is the core of the lie. They want you to focus on Bitcoin's volatility, the ups and downs, while completely ignoring the guaranteed program loss of value and the money they force you to use. They're shouting about a potential storm on the horizon to distract you from the fact that your own financial house is slowly, deliberately, and irreversibly flooding. To understand how deep this deception runs, we need to go back in time. Not that far, just to a moment that completely re engineered the world's financial system. We need to talk about the history of money and the day money died. For thousands of years, money was something real. It evolved from barter to things that had useful properties like salt, seashells, and eventually precious metals like gold. Gold became the ultimate form of money for one simple reason: it was hard to make more of. You couldn't just wish it into existence. It required real work, real energy to mine it from the earth. Its supply was naturally limited by geology and physics. This difficulty, this proof of work, gave it value. It was a stable foundation. For a while, we had a system that respected this. Governments issued paper currency, but this paper wasn't the money itself. It was a claim check. It was a receipt for a specific amount of gold held in a vault. You could, at any time, walk into a bank and exchange your paper for real physical gold. This kept governments honest. They couldn't just print endless receipts if they didn't have the gold to back them up. The money was honest because it was anchored to something real. But then came August 15th, 1971. On that day, US President Richard Nixon went on TV and announced that the United States would no longer convert dollars to gold. In that single moment, moment, the entire global financial system changed. The dollar, and by extension all major world currencies linked to it, was no longer a claim check for gold. It became a promise from a government. This is what we call fiat money. The word fiat comes from Latin, meaning let it be done. In other words, this money has value because the government says it does. It's backed by nothing but trust in the politicians and central bankers who manage it. This was the original sin. We moved from a system of money based on physical reality to a system based on trust in fallible human institutions. The anchor was cut, the discipline was gone, and for the first time, governments and central banks had a power that kings of old could only dream of: the power to create money out of thin air. The money printer was born, and with it, the silent theft of inflation became a permanent feature of our lives. They had found a way to tax you without passing a single law. Economists will tell you that for something to be considered good money, it must serve three functions: a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and a store of value. Let's be generous and grade their fiat money against their own criteria. First, a medium of exchange. Can you use dollars or euros to buy a coffee or pay your rent? Yes, absolutely. It's legal tender and universally accepted. So, on this point, fiat money gets a passing grade. Check. Second, a unit of account. Are things priced in dollars? Is your salary measured in euros? Yes. Fiat is the yardstick we use to value everything. So, again, it serves this function. Check. Third, and this is the most important one for your future, a store of value. Does the money you save today hold its purchasing power over time? And here the entire system collapses into a lie. Fiat currency is, by its very nature and by its manager's own admission, a catastrophic failure as a store of value. It is the melting ice cube. It is intentionally designed to lose value. Central banks openly target a rate of inflation, meaning they are openly committed to devaluing your savings every single year. Think about that. The very institution tasked with protecting the money is openly dedicated to destroying its value. A ruler that's designed to shrink every year isn't a reliable ruler. A pound that gets lighter isn't a reliable measure of weight, and money that is guaranteed to buy you less tomorrow isn't sound money. It's a broken tool. We don't even need theory. Just look at history. The promise to be responsible with the money printer has been broken by virtually every government that ever made it. The hyperinflation of Weimar Germany, where people burned cash for warmth because it was cheaper than firewood, the collapse of the currency in Zimbabwe, leading to a $100 trillion bill that couldn't buy a loaf of bread, the ongoing tragedies in Venezuela and Argentina, where citizens watched their life savings evaporate. These aren't accidents, they are the inevitable endpoint of the fiat experiment. When you give humans a magic money machine, they will always eventually abuse it. The temptation is too great. They'll print to fund wars, to pay for programs, to bail out their friends, to win elections, and every time they do, they are reaching into your bank account and stealing a little bit of your future. Their system fails their own test, fails their own. Now we get to the heart of the propaganda. They've engineered a broken system, and their next job is to convince you it's for your own good. It's one of the most successful marketing campaigns in history. They say inflation is necessary to encourage you to spend and invest, which stimulates the economy. Let's translate that. They're saying that if your money didn't constantly lose value, you might actually choose to save it. By turning your savings into a melting ice cube, they force your hand. They coerce you into spending it or gambling it in financial markets you may not understand, just for a chance at preserving your wealth. You are being forced to become a speculator. You have to buy stocks, bonds, real estate, assets you hope will rise in price faster than your currency is being devalued. You have to take on risk, not because you're an entrepreneur, but simply to protect yourself from the guaranteed confiscation of your savings. And who does this system benefit? It benefits those closest to the money printer. When the central bank creates new money, it doesn't just appear in everyone's account equally. It's injected into the top of the financial system. It goes to big banks, to the government, to large corporations. These institutions and the wealthy individuals who own these assets get to spend the new money first at its current value. By the time that money trickles down to the rest of us, the wage earners, the small business owners, it has already pushed up the prices of everything. This is known as the Cantillon Effect. It's a hidden mechanism for transferring wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich and connected. The wealthy see their assets, stocks, real estate, art, inflate in price. Meanwhile, the person holding cash, saving for a down payment, sees their dream get further and further away. The result is the massive wealth inequality we see all around us. It is not an accident of capitalism. It is a direct feature of the fiat money system. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed for the benefit of a small few at the expense of the many. So, if that's the game they're playing, if that's the system they're protecting, what happens when something comes along that doesn't play by their rules? What happens when a new form of money emerges that they cannot control? What happens is Bitcoin. And now we finally understand why they're so terrified. It's not because it's a scam, it's because it's the first credible threat to their monopoly on money. To understand Bitcoin, you have to ignore the price for a moment, ignore the media hype, forget everything you've been told, and focus on two fundamental properties. First, a fixed, predictable supply. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. It is written into the code and secured by a global network of computers. No one can change this rule. No CEO, no president, no central banker can decide to create more. While it's technically possible for the code to be changed if a supermajority of users agree, the network's incentives make this outcome extremely unlikely. Bitcoin introduces something missing from money for over 50 years: absolute verifiable scarcity. The money printer is useless against it. Second, decentralization. This is the masterstroke. Bitcoin isn't run by a company. There's no headquarters, no board of directors, no CEO to pressure. It's a network of thousands of computers all over the world, all running the same software, all enforcing the same rules. No single person or group can control it, censor it, or shut it down. The trust isn't placed in a fallible person, it's placed in mathematics and code. Put those two things together. You have a form of money with a fixed supply that no one can change, run by a network that no one can control. This is the source of their terror. Their entire model of power rests on their ability to manage the currency. The ability to print money is how they fund deficits without raising taxes. It's how they bail out failing industries. It is the ultimate lever of control. Bitcoin simply opts out. It presents a parallel financial universe where their rules don't apply, a system where your savings can't be systematically inflated away, a system where your transactions can't be easily censored, a system where your wealth can't be confiscated with a few keystrokes provided you hold it yourself. This is why they lie. They're not afraid you'll lose money, they're terrified you'll find freedom. They are afraid you'll discover their money is the broken one, and that for the first time in history, there's a viable escape hatch. Bitcoin isn't a threat to you, it's a threat to their control over you. So let's go back to those three functions of money and see how Bitcoin stacks up, not against some perfect ideal, but against the failed fiat system we're forced to use. First, and most importantly, is Bitcoin a store of value? This is its primary and most powerful use case. Because of its absolute scarcity, many argue that Bitcoin is the best defense against inflation ever invented. It's a compelling candidate for the digital antidote to the melting fiat ice cube. While your dollars are designed to lose value, Bitcoin's supply is fixed. It's like digital gold, but better in some ways. It's harder to seize if you custody it yourself. You can send it across the world in minutes, and you can verify it with mathematical certainty. For millions, it represents the world's first truly incorruptible store of value. Second, is Bitcoin a medium of exchange? This is where critics love to attack. They say it's too slow for buying coffee. On its base layer, for small transactions, they have a point. But that's like saying the internet was a failure in 1995 because you couldn't stream 4K video. Technologies are built in layers. Bitcoin's main chain is a settlement layer, like Fedwire for banks, designed for final settlement. For everyday payments, second layer technologies like the Lightning Network are being built on top of Bitcoin, allowing for nearly instant, virtually free transactions. While it's not as widespread as Visa yet, the technology is developing. In countries with high inflation like Argentina or Nigeria, Bitcoin is already becoming a crucial tool for savings and international payments. Third, is Bitcoin a unit of account? Right now, no. Very few things are priced in Bitcoin. Our minds still think in dollars. But this is often the final stage of monetization for any new money. And a unit of account with a fixed supply is arguably a much more honest measuring stick over the long term than one that's constantly being manipulated. When you look at it honestly, Bitcoin already excels at the most important function of money where fiat fails, storing value long term, and it's rapidly improving on the others. It's not a failed currency, it is an emerging one, following a path many have compared to gold's monetization, but on an accelerated digital timescale. Once you understand their goal is to protect their broken system, their attacks on Bitcoin become transparent. They're a smokescreen of fear. Let's dismantle their four favorite lies. Lie number one, it's a Ponzi scheme. This is the laziest criticism. A Ponzi scheme is a fraud that pays old investors with new investors' money, run by a central operator who lies about everything. Bitcoin is the literal opposite. It's a decentralized network with no central operator. Its code is open source. Its rules are transparent and public. There are no promises of returns. To call Bitcoin a Ponzi is to misunderstand what both of those things are. Lie number two, it's only for criminals. This was a popular narrative, but the data just doesn't back it up. By an enormous margin, the world's currency of choice for crime and money laundering is still the US dollar. Furthermore, Bitcoin's public and permanent ledger, the blockchain, is actually a terrible tool for criminals. Law enforcement agencies have become incredibly good at tracing transactions. Anonymous cash is a far better tool for crime. This talking point is pure fear mongering. Lie number three, it's too volatile. Bitcoin's price does fluctuate wildly at times. This is true. But this volatility is a natural characteristic of a new asset undergoing price discovery on a global scale. Amazon stock was also incredibly volatile in its early days. But here's the real question. What is riskier? An asset that is volatile but has a fixed supply, or an asset with a smooth trend line that is guaranteed to lose its value forever? They want you to fear the bumpy ride up so that you'll stay on the smooth ride to the bottom. Line number four, it boils the oceans. This is the newest attack. Yes, Bitcoin mining uses a lot of energy, but that energy isn't wasted. It's what secures the network. It's the proof of work that makes it tamper proof. That energy cost should be compared to the staggering cost of the existing fiat and gold systems. Every bank, ATM, armored truck, and military force protecting global trade routes that underpin the petrodollar. The debate is complex, but miners are incentivized to find the cheapest energy on the planet, which is often stranded or renewable. The energy argument is a trade-off, and what you get is a global, incorruptible financial system. That's the price of security. So where does this leave you? You're standing at a crossroads. On one path is the system you were born into, the fiat system. It's familiar, easy, and run by people who promise to take care of you. But it's a path that leads downhill, a path of guaranteed devaluation, of a game you can never truly win. On the other path is something new, something that requires a little learning and personal responsibility, the Bitcoin path. It's a system based on rules, not rulers, on math, not men. It's a path that offers a chance to preserve the value of your time and your work. This isn't about becoming a trader or getting rich overnight. This is about a fundamental choice in how you save for your future. Do you want to store your life's work in a melting ice cube or in something solid? Adopting Bitcoin is a peaceful protest. It is a vote. It's a way of saying, I no longer consent to playing a rigged game. I no longer trust the institutions that have systematically devalued my labor. I choose to opt out. You are taking your wealth out of a system of control and placing it into a system of freedom. They lied about Bitcoin because they need you in their system. They need your participation. They need your savings to inflate away. They need you to remain dependent. Bitcoin offers you a choice. This is a deep topic, and this is just the beginning. If you want to truly understand the principles behind this revolution, I urge you to start by reading The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Amos. It's the single best resource for understanding the history of money and why Bitcoin is so important. The media will keep spreading fear and misinformation. The best thing you can do is educate yourself. So, what are the biggest lies you've heard about Bitcoin? What questions do you still have? Let's have a real open conversation in the comments below. And finally, if this video opened your eyes and made you question the official narrative, subscribe to this channel and share this video. We need more people to understand what's at stake. For more than 50 years, the world has been running a financial experiment, money without an anchor, based solely on the promises of politicians. That experiment is failing. The cracks are showing everywhere in rising inflation, widening inequality, and a growing sense of unfairness. They lied about Bitcoin because it is the antithesis of their system. It is everything they are not. It is predictable where they are arbitrary. It is transparent where they are opaque. It is decentralized where they are centralized. It is sound where they are broken. They can print all the money they want. They can host all the panels they want. They can write all the hit pieces they want, but they cannot change the math. They cannot stop a decentralized network. The genie is out of the bottle. This is about more than money. It's about freedom. It's about hope. It's about the power to build a future on a solid foundation. They can lie about Bitcoin, but they can't stop an idea whose time has come. The choice for the first time in a long time is yours.